Transformation happens here on Unifying Family. Men on Monday, women on Wednesday. Real talk, real issues, real solutions. Unifying Family, building strong families. Good evening and welcome to Men on Monday. We are streaming live actually on YouTube only this evening as we're seeking to make the transition to YouTube and build our network there, if I can say that. So we'll be streaming live and then we'll be recording and sharing later on Facebook. What I want to say good evening to our gentlemen. Missing from us this evening is none other than Minister Kevin, who, of course, as Sinclair would say, Fathering 101, taking care of fatherly duties this evening. He's not with us. But nevertheless, today we have with us Bishop Mark, Pastor Edison Bino, Minister Sinclair Brown for the first time in 2024. Can you believe that? For the first time in 2024, we are glad to have you guys with us this evening. So, gentlemen, how have you been?
Well, I've been busy. I'm alive and well and trust in the Lord with all my heart.
It's good to have you, Bishop Mark. Go ahead, Minister Sinclair, Minister Pastor Bino.
Oh, I was going to allow Sinclair to go ahead, but I'm
okay, I'm going great.
Brad?
All right, so we are talking about this. Good. So we're talking about something quite interesting this evening. We're talking about the assertive man versus the aggressive man. And quite interestingly enough, there's been much talk about this all over social media. And I found it quite interesting, even as the men chose this topic today. It seems to be a plague, if I can use that word, when it comes to communication and understanding your partner. But I think we're going to delve into it a lot more this evening. We understand what really is an aggressive man versus an assertive man, and helping our men to even understand just where they fall also. Are they aggressive? Are they assertive? You know, where on the spectrum do they fall? Helping women to understand also on the spectrum, you know, how do they understand? How do they receive that communication? So that's what we're discussing this evening. So Bishop Mark, let's start with Bishop Mark and then Pastor Edison, and then we're going to jump right over to Minister Sinclair, who will, break it down for us a lot to understand how to understand what is an aggressive man versus an assertive man. So go right ahead.
I would want to start out by looking at not a definition, but some of the characteristics of the two. For example, the assertive person would more be solution focused, where the aggressive person is more thinking about themselves, getting their own way. You will find that an assertive person would still remain, will still have some aspect of respectability, would be respecting, respectful and holding people accountable and so on. Whilst the aggressive person is more inconsiderate. You would hear the assertive person maybe using words like "I feel" or as such, like, and would mostly see the control their body language, you know, where the aggressive person would be more speaking about them, you rule, you know, threatening, judgmental statements, seeking to attack. Whilst a lot of times you see their aggressiveness in their bodily messaging in terms of, you know, pointing and clenching fists and ruffling up the face and that kind of thing. So that'd be, you know, the balance I'll put there. I think that there's an aspect to assertiveness that has to be aggressive, but the aggressive now, I would say, needs to have a lot more of the assertiveness. So I kind of put them in there because you cannot be assertive and don't have a measure of aggression. But I think where the difference come is that you have a, what should I say, you have an appreciation for how other people feel and how they would respond, for example, to criticism and things of that nature, because you realize that many persons do not seem to like people to tell them anything. You find that in jobs, you find that in families, you find that in churches. And sometimes what people would do is more deal with the messenger than the message. So I think assertiveness is the way to go, but I don't know how many of us are as assertive as we would like to be, because I think a bit of the aggression still comes out in all of us.
Go ahead, Pastor Bino. So before Pastor Bino jumps in, so
I my
we really
apologies.
look
I'm
for the
really
words
trying
that
to
are being used,
get into the
Bishop
program in the
Mark.
sense of the
Right.
internet. Yeah, but seem to be having some challenges with the internet from my end. But I think Bishop Mark hit the nail on the head. Assertive people, they're able to express their thoughts, their feelings, their needs, their expectations. And I think that's important. Um, but want to hear from Sinclair as I sort out my internet issues.
Go ahead, Sinclair. Go ahead. We're talking about assertive men
Mhm.
versus
Aggressive.
the assertive
Recipe.
man versus the aggressive man, and we want to hear from you, those of you who are viewing with us. Good evening to you,
Okay.
Gregory. Sinclair, go right ahead.
Yes. Yeah. Good evening, Gregory Irwin. Yes, please. Good evening, all. The thing was, let me go with the definition because let me use that to wrap it in. When they talk about aggressive person, they're ready and likely to attack or confront, which is characterized by resulting from aggression. So when a person is ready or likely to attack or confront, so this thing where aggression is in the communication is not seeking to do something called understand in that confrontation or conflict or communication. When a person is, I use the word as a compound word, under and stand. Are you looking to stand under that person while they are supporting them while they express themselves? Yes, to have to see what they're saying. Many times we hear a person and we go into defense mode, or we are listening to answer or to attack what they're saying. And so, an aggressive person, generally speaking, they're very sensitive or oversensitive. So they're not going to have healthy communication, healthy relationships, because they can feel like, well, what is being in that communication or conflict, they can feel attacked. And by extension, that it says they're likely to attack or confront, right? And that is always ready. It's like this edginess to them. They always they speak with a sword. Yeah, it is a difference when you having a conversation. I said, even if this person is saying something wrong, am I willing to stand under them and support their conversation? Am I willing to hear what they're saying? What are they feeling? What is behind all of that? And therefore, you talk with an assertive person now. Assertive communication, and this is by Pippus and Jaradat for 2010. Their definition of assertive communication is specified by the ability to speak and interact in a manner that considers and respect the rights and opinions of others while also standing up for your rights, needs, and personal boundaries. So that is an assertive person. So they're not pliable. They're not wishy-washy. Yeah. By the same time, they interact in a manner that considers, that's for considering and respecting the rights and opinions of others, while at the same time having their rights, needs, and their personal boundaries put in place. So it doesn't mean the person's bending over backwards and they're spineless, but they're willing to interact and engage. And that is again, we can set the foundation we talked about an assertive person, and we can bring passive in there too, so we can understand the difference. A passive person, no, they don't have boundaries. They're more agreeable. They're just looking to not confront. So they're very everything they're okay with, and I don't mind, and everything. It seems like they are easy to talk to, but they're not assertive. They're just going along with whatever's going happening. And by extension, they are more passive in this conversation.
So generally, it's to look at, maybe as Bishop Mark said before, the body language, the tone, the choice of words. If it seems like offense versus being able to be solution oriented, because very often people are, as I said, as Bishop Mark said, it comes from the place of not being wanted to be told anything. So, who are you to say something to me? Do you have the place? Are you in a place to say something to that person? Can they hear you from that place? And then the end goal is, are we working towards a solution, or are we rather just going to be having out words back and forth? So really, that's the base of looking at it. Body language. Are they going to receive what you're saying, or can they even receive what they're saying to you also, and share it in a manner that you can understand and receive? Is that really what you're saying, Sinclair?
Definitely. What is the purpose of us communicating? The whole thing of communication is intimacy. We're talking about relationships. Yeah. This is all level. This is in our marriage, our children, in church, our community, in town. And when you have learned the art of communication, interacting with people, you recognize people are going through things, and it is the person that is most healed that is less is least to be aggressive. It doesn't mean you're not assertive. Yeah. Many times, if a person says something that's an offense in your head, then it becomes an offensive to you. Yeah. What I mean by that is, let's
Stop
say,
right there. Explain that. What does that
yeah,
mean? What does that mean? Yeah.
let's say, a person going, let me say I'm struggling with my weight. Yeah. And a person says, fat man, right? Because that is an offense in my head, it fits the offense in my head. Now, you can't greet somebody without calling it fat. You know what I'm saying to you? If I'm muscular and I'm ripped, the man says fat man is not offensive. You get what I'm saying to you? Yeah. So it is normally the offense. If I struggle with my color or whatever, my black man, blacky man, I'm offended because my family called me that, or something. Oh, you so stupid. Those are triggers that maybe mommy said, daddy said, or somebody said, teacher said. So in our communication, many they trigger words. Yeah. And the more healed you are, you're not as offended by people's tones, pitches, and words. So even as a counselor, yes, people get aggressive, people can say things. However, because there's little, things offend, and if I am, you communicate differently. It doesn't mean I'm not upset. There's a difference. I can be angry and speak out of two. Yeah. But people think that I have to match the output of my behavior with how I emotionally feel on the inside. Yeah. So a person coming at me where they're shouting and screaming or cursing or saying something offensive, because I'm hurting on the inside at a 10, I'm not going to match the outside of a 10. But sometimes because we are growing and maturing, and we talk about men now, and we talk leaders, it doesn't mean I'm not saying I'm not angry. I can say to a person, I am upset, I am angry, I'm frustrated, I feel disrespected. But I can speak out of 2 or 3. Yeah. No, I'm not. It's not I don't have boundaries or I'm suppressing my emotions, but I'm very assertive. But it doesn't mean I have to shout and scream and pelt things at people and hit them in the head. All right. But at the same time, an aggressive person, no, because they don't have that letter one, they're generally speaking very tender, and therefore, the guy, because the lady says to me, he sees disrespectful or his interpretation of being disrespected, he now has to match that aggression what he's happening on the inside. Yeah, so now he's being using expletives and he's being physical and he uses energy. But we also have to be aware of energy. Although a person could be not speaking loud, the energy level could be pretty high. And that's something you can't touch, but you can tell this person have aggression going on. So you have to be able to understand how to be assertive. It's a skill set you can learn. Because we are not in a position many times to understand the difference between aggression and assertive. And those are so many things. Yes, the tone, body language, your energy, and your personality also affects how the difference between aggressive and assertive.
How can one really do introspection? Because you may say, but and I've heard this tone, that's just me. That's just the way I am. That's how I speak. How then do you really, do your introspection? Am I coming over aggressive or am I being assertive? Because I might be thinking that I'm being assertive and might not be. So, or I might be aggressive and I might be assertive. How does one really do that introspection?
Well, that's a very good question. I think we should be at that topic too, because a lot of times you're right. People are set in their ways. The wonderful thing that we have access to, though, as believers, is that the Bible says that when we have Jesus Christ as Lord and Savior, we are able to change from how we are. But first, we have got to surrender to that. So we got to probably be looking to the Spirit of God to show us where our weaknesses and good friends. Because one of the things that I've seen over the years is that people like the friends so bad, they themselves can see what is happening, but they find it difficult to say to the friends, well, look, you're being a little too aggressive here. You know, you shouldn't go this way. And so a lot of times people, them own selves are in so much turmoil emotionally and otherwise, and abuse and all of that, that they are not in a position to help. And if a person is not willing to listen and to, as you say, do the introspection, you're going to find some problems, because remember, the aggressiveness is not conducive to developing good relations in terms of whether you're at work, among family members, your family members, church members especially, and so on. So I think we as a church would have a responsibility to teach these things, but to get people to do introspection can be very, very difficult. However, I think that if we are honest with ourselves, for example, I can tell where I might be doing more aggressive than assertive, like Cynthia was saying just now, where I can sense that people's face, their actions, how they respond to questions, and things of that nature. If I'm, cognizant and looking, I can say, well, maybe I'm being assertive about something as a leader, but maybe my terminology, maybe my body movements and so on could change. So it is difficult for people to look at themselves that kind of way and see the negatives. But it is important that we get that balance between aggression and being assertive, because you are right, a lot of people misunderstand. So, for example, guys maybe come up believing that as the man, you got to be big, bad, McGuffey, you got to share licks. They come up hearing that women hear other men saying that women say that if you ain't beating them, you ain't love them and all kind of that. So a fella figure aggression is the way to go, and then throws being assertive outside the window. So I don't know. We need to find ways to, and I think like what we're doing here tonight, to help men to understand that they can be assertive before having to want to fight or cursing and pulling down. A lot of people speak to in terms of exaggerations or seek to pull down a person's character to maybe get a point over. So introspection is something we wish it could work, but it don't always work the way that we would want it to. But it's very important.
No, you raised a very interesting point there, Bishop Mark. Cultural teachings, culturally, especially when men are to be honored and to be revered as the leaders and the head of the household.
Yes.
They can understand that however they are, I guess, is supposed to be accepted. And it may be ineffective in terms of leadership. You may have a woman's honor and a woman's respect, but because it is maybe not of her own, but because it is supposed to be given to you, can that be one of the repercussions because of cultural practices? Because there are some cultures where men believe those kind of things and so forth. So you have to be cognizant of those things when it comes to the cultural influences, if I can use that, when it comes to being aggressive and assertive. Maybe we have to unlearn some things.
Yeah, that's a very good point you've made there, because as I was saying earlier, because how your culture is and brought up, because if you deal with men themselves, we influence one another very seriously. Fellow would come and maybe we together talking and would give you the impression that I'm the boss of the house. As a man, I go home and my food got to put there and all that. And when you check and find out, he really is a mouse in the house. So when we are among other men, we tend to want to portray the image that being a man is, yes, assertive, but in reality is a lot of aggressiveness and so on. So you're right, how we are culturalized, how we were brought up, how we line together as fellas and so on. And so the pressure too is on men to be men. So you must have stories to match with other guys' stories. So you go home, and sometimes if you have a woman who can be aggressive herself, that man that is being assertive can find it very difficult, and therefore might have to revert to being just as aggressive as the person that he's seeking to be assertive with.
Go ahead, Sinclair. I'm sure you have something to say because I'm thinking that aggression, as we talk about the home aggression, meeting aggression, that is definitely a recipe for a fire to start right
Yeah,
there.
Yeah, definitely. The challenge I find, yeah, a lot of women are very aggressive in this season. It is a problem, and
yeah.
because a lot of women don't know the difference between being assertive and aggressive. So some may say, "Oh, I found my voice," and they're very volatile.
Let me yeah,
But what I've said to guys is that to help men understand where a lot of women are at, like women are scared, and I mean, I have to tell guys, look, there's a lie that both men and women believe. Yeah, there's this lie that women believe, the secular feminism, I mean, told a lot of this. But the lie is that women are strong. Yeah, both women and men believe this lie. Yeah, and the mere fact that men believe this lie, they believe they need to match woman because she's aggressive. Like that is not true. Like you have to come to places as a man to know, look, you are stronger, bigger than a woman. Like, let me stop with this stupid. Like this thing where this woman can fight with you. Like, no, you can't. Sorry, right? So therefore, my mind doesn't go if a woman is aggressive. My brain does not go into an eight. So if a woman is shouting, screaming, cursing, what you know what I mean? I'm not going to meet her at 8, 9, 10 because her 8, 9, 10 is she's trying to be heard. My say is the fact that women are definitely scared and they want men to understand. We want to feel protected, we want to feel safe. But we are scared to show you that we are vulnerable because you're going to take advantage of us.
advantage.
You understand? So if a man allows a woman to know, look, mentioned in my work where women are aggressive and stuff like that, and I'm at a 2 or 3. And if a woman sees you meet her at 8, 9, 10, she knows that you see her as a challenge. Like you're not a challenge. I want to know what are you feeling? What is going on? What is hurting you? What are you trying to say? Because you're shouting and screaming, but what are you saying? I want to know what it is you want to express. Right? If I meet you at an 8, 9, 10, nobody knows what's happening. And when elephant fights, it's the grass that get hurt. And the same thing happens in the home. Men and women are fighting. The children are being abused because they see these two grown people that are supposed to take care of us acting like idiots. Yeah. So the thing about it is somebody has to have some sense. And I try to get the guys to say no. Stay at a 2 or 3. Okay. Learn to have your feelings, your emotions, and be able to have that expression. And what is amazing is that women come down. When we recognize, you know what, they will match you because she knows that okay, cool, this man is willing to hear what I want to say. One thing they say to women is, look, when you shout and scream, you are aggressive. What is happening is that people will say, well, she aggressive. She like crawling, so she's not heard. So you're actually taking away from the what you're trying to get done in the first place. So I want to give you back your voice, which is don't let anybody come and say, oh, you're aggressive, you like crawling, you this. And because they recognize, what, I want to be heard, they change their tone out, they change your body language, and you learn how to communicate and use your words. We're grown people. Like use your adjectives and your verbs and your nouns. Like, sorry, we're not stupid, right? And all of a sudden, people are communicating their feelings and their emotions. What guys are doing because they believe women are strong, they're now matching women with their aggression. What are we talking about? This is we supposed to be protecting our women. We supposed to be taking care of our women. We supposed to let them know we're going to defend them at all costs. But if you believe women strong, you trying to match her, fight with her, like that. That is not it. And I'm saying to you, we talk about introspection quickly. Sorry, introspection, and I think that is the issue right there. People are relying on their own selves to correct their own behavior. That is that is why nothing is changing. Why we don't want to submit to a person that is trained in such a way to say, this is how you look. You do something like Jahari's window. You need to learn your blind spot. Somebody that has the tools. You need external objective tools to measure your aggression.
Mm-hmm.
So here's what I'm going to give you quickly for those who are listening. If they want to have a tool to work with, we all have phones. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Very easy. Use your phone to record yourself. Imagine you're in a situation where you're talking to your wife or your children. You can use a scenario where you're upset, you're at work, you're the supervisor, your boss, you're at church. Use a placard to just say this is what this is, what emotions you're looking at. Now, just watch the video later of yourself. Now, here's the second video you look at. Turn down the volume and look at just your body language and take notes. Look at your facial cues. Look at how you away your hands and stuff like that. How you pointing your finger, right? Because this point finger is aggressive tone. You know what I'm saying to you? You feel like friend for you. You know what I mean? That is poke, 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 right? Which is different to open hand and say, can you get that for me? Get that for me. The person don't want to hear you because they're not a child, which is an open hand. There's a difference.
So we really
The,
need to learn some behavioral, some
yeah.
change.
So there's some tools. Yeah, there's some tools to work with. So when you turn on the volume and you look at your video, just of your body language. The next thing, you turn over the phone and just listen to the voice and listen to your pitch, listen to your tone, listen to your energy, listen to the words that you're using. So many of we use aggressive words and then wonder why do people retaliate because you might speak soft, it's still attacking tone, attacking words.
That's correct.
Use victim words. I'm saying you don't ever do nothing for me. That is, that exaggeration is a lie. It's like, why are you lying? Oh, you don't ever do nothing for me. That's a lie. I'm saying to you, and you take notes of your wording, your languaging. Are you communicating effectively? Or what are the 3 points are you trying to get over? Yeah. And without that three things, just looking and listening. And if you can, with some technology, you can get a transcript of what you said and actually read your words. You'll be shocked if you were to read what you said. It'd be so amazing that what you thought you were saying and what you actually said is amazing. And I think that's what introspection looks like. But if you rely on what's inside of your head, I could be offending you. And you could be trying so hard to say, Sinclair, you're being offensive to me. You don't know me, I got, you're the only boy that tell me so, which is not true. Which means the person can never address my blind spot because I'm not open to it.
That's some good stuff there, because that's a difficult place to put yourself into here. Well, I guess because I've often been a broadcaster, I hear myself in my ears, so I know I have an idea. And Bishop Mark will tell you that, there's nothing like being on air, and maybe you have a caller who who ruffles your feathers, and you hear yourself, and then you say, you know what, bring your tone back down. So I've had that experience, so I know that. Somebody's being able to smile rather than not, let your emotions come through and so forth. So for me, it's quite interesting that you would say that, because even when we talk, and I'm very aware that as a man, I'm not a man, but as a man, that our men tend to want, I'm going to speak it from a woman's perspective. Men tend to want to be the leaders whenever, or to get their point across. I mean, women too, but men want to get their point across. And sometimes, especially when they're in leadership roles, when they feel that they are sometimes not being heard, not be, and the chat or a challenge might be there, there's a bit of aggression that comes forth. And because that aggression comes forth, it makes it difficult for those on the other end to often receive exactly what is being said. I'm not saying that a man can't be aggressive, or he shouldn't be aggressive, or he shouldn't be assertive, whatever, because there are times when the tone might need to communicate such. But I found that when that is there, it is difficult for persons on the other end to receive exactly what they're saying. As Kevin says, who's missing from us today, says, love the using your phone scenario. We'll definitely try it, but can the average man do that? That's why I said that's a big thing, because people, when the truth is revealed, people oftentimes don't want that truth. That's a real thing. When you realize that, your tone and your words and your choice of language is a bit much. It is different. As Sinclair said, everyone should be able to do it, yes. But the reality is, who really wants to hear themselves, in the thick of it,
But here's
being
the thing about
assertive.
it is, yes, the truth of the matter, many people don't want to grow. Okay, people say, look, I tell people, listen, if we really wanted to grow, we would, yeah. But we don't like discomfort. We don't like being displaced. We don't like being wrong. We don't like being showed up. So the reality is, in order to grow, that is why Christians struggle. You see, the difference is that a lot of Christians prefer to let us pray beside the bed and hope that the Holy Spirit burn up the dross. It's not going to work. Sorry, we could try that the cows come home. That is not how it works. There is a vertical and a horizontal to the cross. Okay, David's a man after God's own heart, but David's horizontal relationships were horrible. I mean, he was very vertical with his relationship with God, but his horizontal relationships, his wife, his children, his thing, he sleep with a man's wife, kill him. Like, what I'm saying? And all the while praising and worshiping and writing songs. So the truth of the matter is, if we don't recognize that the prophet had to come to him and use a scenario outside himself and said, listen, There's a man that had a sheep.
Mhm.
You know, and man, this man had a whole bunch of sheep. And
Yeah.
this man went kill this man's sheep. He's like, "Who's that man? Oh, yeah, we killed him." He said, that, "You're that dude."
Yeah,
He
that
didn't
dude.
have the capacity to see his own issues. When we try this thing with introspection, it is a very, like, the truth matter is a very arrogant position because we are really saying, "I don't want nobody to tell me anything." And then as Christians, why we struggle is God's still working on me. Therefore, that means don't tell me nothing. So much as we love Jesus and we love the Lord, we speaking in tongues, we are not willing to go through the difficulty of looking in the mirror. And God created people as our mirrors, and we don't like it. You know what I'm saying to you. But that is our blind side, and that is the only way we can grow.
I want to go to something here that Pastor Bueno just posted. I know he's missing from our stream tonight, but I'm loving his contribution. This one, read this comment. Some people are passive in one environment and aggressive in another. That for me speaks volumes, and especially if there are no consequences from being. So I can speak to you however, treat you however, say whatever however, and there are no consequences. But generally, when there are consequences or repercussions to behavior, you would find that their responses and behaviors are different. Do you guys agree?
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying, but I think also it depends, on the person that you're dealing with relative to how the environment that the person you're dealing with has set. Because remember, if you're dealing with a person who might be coming over as understanding and valuing your opinion, then you can be less aggressive with that person because you get something coming back. A lot of times, let us be honest, a lot of people are in environments where they have to express themselves, but they're seeking to express themselves from a lot of hurts, a lot of disappointments, and a lot of scenarios that they would have gone through that would have affected their ability sometimes to maybe express themselves or feel that they're never being heard, right? So agree at that point from the standpoint that depending on who you are seeking to communicate with, you will be less aggressive and more assertive because you feel relaxed and comfortable. You feel respected. You feel as part of the process, and then you're dealing with another person that or another environment which is very aggressive from the start. So you feel within your rights that you got to defend yourself because if somebody hitting at you, the natural reaction is to try to block, right? The natural reaction is to defend yourself. So if you feel that you always have it, I'll show you what I mean. Sometimes people will be talking, and when they realize that, for example, to me, I got a big diaphragm, I speak loud. So when they realize they can win a point with me, they will start talking about my volume. You don't have to talk so loud. You don't have to shout. And I talk in normal. When they were winning, I was talking the same way. So yes, who you're dealing with and the persons, it would depend on how you respond, whether you're aggressive or your thing. So I agree with that point. But again, I always come back to this. A lot of people, we talked about it earlier about the culturalization. A lot of people respond to correction, to constructive criticism, maybe sometimes encouragement in poor ways or bad ways because of what they have experienced, because they might be damaged emotionally. They might have had a bad experience or had bad experiences and then are not able to trust people, right? Enough. So as soon as something they hit that nerve, that person becomes more aggressive because it's more of a defense, right? And therefore the argument goes through the door, or the listening goes through the door, or the introspection, we call it, that goes through the door because it is about now defending myself. I fight in this fight to the bitter end. Even if I'm wrong, I'm going down strong. And so that's, you have a number of issues why these scenarios happen. As Sinclair was saying earlier, with the woman who's now aggressive and female, she has to take a stand. That could somehow again send the guy to the aggressive end because he realizes, well, as the man here though, it's like Bible say that the mamas. So a lot of these things play on our minds and our psyches and all of that. So this thing is bigger and broader than we can imagine, because there's so many influences that come to bear. For example, you have people who are 45 years old and still living like 16 and 17 and 20 years, still living that kind of way. right? In terms of decisions, in terms of taking information constructively and that kind of thing. So there are a number of issues that we can find out would affect whether a person is aggressive or assertive in any particular environment.
I want to echo what Mark said there. This is something I've often said. A man who is, and I'm going to use this, 6'4", like your height, Bishop Mark.
And that's a 3 inches short of it. Yeah.
but
That's 6'1", 6.5 inch. Yeah.
but I'll tell you why I say this.
Uh,
Um, so I won't go too deep into anything, but I'm just saying to you that a man who generally has that type of stature, when he speaks, actually, and I've encountered this, men who are generally that big in stature, generally if they have a big voice, they come over as aggressive when they speak, So people, because they have that loud booming voice and then the stature to go with it, very often when they speak, people think that they are upset. And I must realize that I took note of that. Where sometimes you have to say in your head,
it
okay,
happens.
that's just the way they speak. That's their echoing of their voice and so forth. But there's a question here that I want you gentlemen to answer for Miss Minister Grant tonight. He's asked the question: in this time when it seems like women are more aggressive, how does the average man stay assertive without being aggressive? Panel, Pastor Bino, what say you?
Big question. Wow.
And the silence. Sinclair, what say?
I don't think, but that's why I addressed that earlier. I mean, that is not that difficult, as I mentioned earlier. If you don't have boundaries, let me start here first. Yeah, when guys have to deal with aggressive persons. If you don't have boundaries, then it teaches a person to be aggressive. It doesn't matter who it is. Okay, because if you don't have boundaries, then people rain on your parade. So that is the first thing. But the other thing is, why is this person aggressive? We have more focus on the fact that the person is aggressive. Why is this person aggressive? Okay. The last question: where men, it seems like women are more aggressive, and I think that men just go all the way passive now because a lot of men are scared to be assertive because society says, when a man is assertive, he's trying to browbeat a lady or beat her into submission, or he's this whatever toxic masculinity. And a lot of this stupid narrative, I'm saying they're stupid, and it's annoying to me because we're believing a lot of these things. And that's why a lot of men can't make decisions today, right? Because they're trying so hard not to be bad men. I gotta tell me, you're not a bad guy. Stop trying to prove you're not a bad guy. No. If you know that you are not looking to treat this lady well, and she's aggressive, once again, why is she aggressive? Did she come from an aggressive home? Yeah. So if she comes from aggressive, my thing is, first thing is, why did you choose an aggressive person to be with in the first place? Let's start there. Yes, you have a choice to choose a person, and you choose an aggressive chick. You start stupid. You start wrong straight away. Let's go there. You start wrong. You started wrong. No, I'm saying to you, if we are dating, and I'm saying to you, we are in our dating stage. You step to me and we get an argument because that's when you know a person. We talk about love languages, but what is your trauma language? What is your conflict language? What is your hurt language? If your hurt language is cursing, pointing your finger in my face, and pelting things, we done. That is where we start the conversation. You need to have boundaries. But the problem is that people try to understand we're not understanding that aggressiveness. Well, we enter into this relationship because we're trying to be nice people. And nice guys always get hurt because you're not kind. You should be able to say, I don't tolerate this behavior. Do not curse me. Do not shout at me. Do not do this. It is a very simple rule. She shouts at you. The next time you do that, we're finished. I can't handle you. Done. It's simple. However, we don't have boundaries, as we talk about being assertive, so we have passive guys. No. The second part is, how does the average man stay assertive without becoming aggressive? My question is, if you are assertive guy, you don't have to be aggressive. I said this in the program before, I think all men should be dangerous, but I do believe it should be controlled danger. A woman should not feel that if she gets so the sword, that all of a sudden this man is start beating on her. She should never feel that fear. A woman should know that I have a level of self-control that you don't have to worry about me hitting on you or beating you up, stuff like that. I think we'd be married 20 years. I would never raise my hand at my wife. I'd never curse my wife. And I come from these streets. I ain't come from the heights. I've never, ever once, yeah. But everybody know I got a crazy side to me. Is that is a simple deal. But I am in control of that person. So it is a simple understanding that a woman is having a fear that you don't have self-control. When a woman know you have self-control, she's going to calm down. It's a simple deal. But we are letting women act all crazy, pelting things at us, bringing out a knife and cursing, and they belong to the streets and they're thugs and all this craziness. And we celebrate it like this is a good thing. I tell women all the time, no man wants a Medea. You know what I'm saying? You like stop with this aggressive, stupid thing and figure that men find it cute. We don't. No man likes an aggressive woman. We don't want crazy in the streets and crazy at home. It's not an attractive thing. So if you want a man, calm down, stop acting weird. Because the Western society says that you have to act like this crazy chick. So my statement to guys is you have to come to understanding who your definition is a man. That's my number one thing. If your manhood is coming into question, you're not ready for a relationship. Because if you're gonna come and say, "Oh, she don't treat me like a man," you don't know yourself. Sorry. How is she treating like a horse? You are a man. It doesn't matter what she says. You're a man. But your next thing should be, babes, I found what you said disrespectful. Yeah? I prefer you don't language that or you don't communicate to me like that. That is assertive every day of the week. You don't have to be aggressive. But it has to be consequences to the action. So it doesn't mean I have to hit you. You know what I mean? Or curse you out to show I'm assertive. No, it means that I'm not planning to be in a relationship with a person that is behaving like this. That to me, that's a simple solution.
And I think that goes both ways too. When you talk about boundaries, women being
Correct.
aggressive, men being aggressive, and I'm very big on boundaries. I believe that whenever you're talking to someone, set some boundaries, and not only set them, but live by your words and your boundaries. If I say to you, and I made this clear, you don't. We had our conversation. You're taking me certain places. I'm not going certain places with you. You know, I am not, don't curse me. Don't even think about hitting me. And especially, and I remember having this, especially this big one. Even if we have a difference in private, don't bring that thing out in public. No one needs to know that we may have just had a disagreement. Because I'm
Right.
sure you gentlemen have had disagreements with your wives, and you're having a difference, and when you get in the public, slam door, you go to a session, and maybe and she's shouting at you, no, we don't do that. If that ever happens
Mm.
once, because I believe that once you do that, there's no coming back. For
But
me,
here's my thing, Marissa, though.
there's
Here's
no
my
coming
thing,
back
though.
after that.
Here's my thing. I think that for women, the mere fact that she has to have that conversation, I think we got a problem. I'm serious.
Why do you say that? Why do you say that,
If
Sinclair?
you, if
Because
you,
if a man is
no, Simi, I'm saying to you, I mean, tell me the difference. You probably got to start with this equality craziness. As a woman, I'm saying to you, as a woman, yeah, one of the things with dating and courting that we used to do before is really investigation. Yeah. If you're watching this guy, you know what I'm saying to you, and you recognize he got a temper issue, bounce. You know what I'm saying to
yeah.
you? The things I ask my ladies all the time, do you trust him? You understand? That you friends, do you respect him? Can he teach you anything? Can he discipline you? If you can't pass those 4 yeses, forget this conversation. Because you should not be coming in there now saying, if you think about hitting me, no, the way we having that conversation, which means something is wrong with this guy
Mhm.
that made me have this conversation with him. He should
Fair
have a
enough.
character. I'm just saying to you that you should be choosing a guy. If you're talking about a long-term relationship, you should be choosing a guy that doesn't even come into question. The mere fact that is a question, I tell my girls pull back.
Fair enough, but I believe in setting boundaries. I understand what you're saying, but I set those boundaries. I don't
I
tolerate that.
understand that we have boundaries. My thing is that's behaviors. I understand. I agree with you saying. We have other boundaries. Like for instance, that is not even a negotiation. Then, if you know what I'm saying here, I understand why you're having a conversation. But my thing, if we're choosing a guy, yes, because a guy should not be respected because he has XY chromosomes.
Mhm.
Yeah, he should be living a life that you want to respect.
Yes.
A guy should be living a life that he's leading himself that you want to submit to him. He should have demand submission. If he has demand submission, we got a problem. You know what I'm saying to you? And because I'm saying,
Such
submit
a
to me.
foolish
We
question
got a
there, but go
problem.
ahead.
Yeah, I get the point. I get what Sinclair is saying, but one of the things about relationships is that you don't be exposed to all of these things. I understand Marissa's position because you started out courting and so on. The boy can come one time, you can see all the bad ways or see the aggressive or assertive situations have to come up. So I understand what Marissa means from the standpoint of the process, because when you get the process, you recognize, well, hey, I like I seeing some things about you that I don't necessarily. I didn't see you to come over as Mr. Sweet Boy and thing. Now I see some stuff. Now let me get this straight. So I can understand why at that point. I see what St. Chris mean is that if you're really saying you should, but a lot of times people don't come and take off everything and let you know they got issues with the father and they got abused when they're 15. So as the relationship goes on, you realize you have to start to speak some things in the space. You understand? So that people have an understanding as to what it's all about. Because yes, if there are people who got into relationships that if they had a dossier and everything crossed and the person they ran hard. But a lot of times you only get to know the person when maybe all of a sudden your whole heart gone. Maybe you started to see some good things about them that caught your eye initially, but then all the dirt start to fall over the pants and the shirt and all of that. So you then have to start to jockey a little bit and say, but look, if you can flow this way, this is as far as it can go and so on. So I understand from both sides. But I also agree with Sinclair from the standpoint that a lot of times the ladies know he's sitting on council. Oh, he cursed me one time, but he was sorry and he brought me flowers. And, I forgive him. He hold my hand too tight, but I had him a little angry. Till when next you see her, I block her, mouth lip burst, and she then think. Because as Sinclair said, you watch for these things. And so a lot of times people can see the things. But I had a situation with a young lady who I like this guy, reputation was not a good guy, was even had a case recorded about stealing a car and all this thing. And the lady said to me something as a pastor that blew my mind. It was a young lady too. She said to me, "Well, you understand, you are a pastor and God forgives. God is into reconciliation." I said, I agree with all of that. But if the facts speak clearly that the person don't want to change, you notice in the Bible that Jesus moved on. Jesus moved on. So I was sure, and to cut a long story short, eventually the guy got in some trouble, he got killed and so on. But she was prepared to go against everything that she could see to still hold on to that in the name of love and so on. So boundaries are important and so on. But you see the whole thing about men and women. Listen, people need to what should I say? Be honest with themselves. Because if you're honest with yourself, you could tell when some look, I've been married 31 years. And as Sinclair said, not once have I ever taken my finger and said, if you don't behave, but my wife don't behave that kind of way, my wife is not aggressive really. But the point is, I've never done that. You know why I have never done that? Because I had seen my father done that. I'd seen my father abuse my mother. And I could have been an abuser too. Thank God for Jesus. I could have been an abuser, but I made a determination. If I didn't like that for my mother, I don't want it for no one. My wife will come here right now and tell you, I've never. The other thing I always tell people, say, Claire mentioned earlier, when you get in this way, don't exaggerate. Women do it a lot. Don't exaggerate. Don't go below the belt. Don't go back. You like your father, you like your mother. And so all these things add to whether a person feels valued in the scenario. If you don't feel valued, you're going to operate out of that. I don't feel valued, so I could as well be this aggressive, don't care. I could tell you about, you see, because the assertiveness, when you're assertive, helps the other person to feel value, to feel part of the process. And that is what, but we're not talking about something that's easy here, because as we said already, it comes with a lot of baggage. It comes from so many different influences that would then cause a person to do what I don't like to call but the introspection. But it is something that we have to talk about, and I'm glad that we're having a program like this, because I'm sure men listening, women would start to see that. I always say this when I'm counseling: whatever you put in just in your planting, you will get back out. A lot of people want love, a lot of people want attention, a lot of people want to be heard, but then they want to listen to nobody, right? You can't do that. You got to sow to reap. And that is a principle that I think would help with this assertive and aggressive kind of thing, where you would get, even if you're a little aggressive, you would bring it back to assertiveness because of that whole concept of let me give out to see what he will get back.
Well, I hope we answered Kevin's question tonight about the average man staying assertive without being aggressive. I hope we were able to answer his question. And I hope that for many of you who've been on with us tonight, that you've also had your questions answered and that you've been enlightened. I very much believe that when we think now, we're going to think about how are we saying it? What are our choice of words? The I, you make me, and you do this. And oh Lord, Pastor Bino says some women specialize in verbal hostility. Wow.
Well, Lord, not a topic.
Oh wow. Right, but
it is true. It is true. It is true.
I'm glad that we were able to.
You have 4 points there. That was pretty good. I like the one stay away from crazy women. I like that first one. That's a good one. That's top notch point there.
Gaslighting in relationships. Oh God, Pastor Bino is on a roll tonight. But I really want to thank you for joining us. We'll be live on YouTube, trying to transition to YouTube, and also to be on both streams at the same time, allowing you to be able to share. But the truth and the matter of the fact is that my heart is to see us all grow and become better because of knowledge. Say people perish because of lack of knowledge. And I don't want us to perish in our relationships, not only with husbands and wives, but also with our children because of lack of knowledge, and generations to come. And those we have an impact on because we lack knowledge. And I believe that when we come into this knowledge, we won't change overnight, but we will change bit by bit, day by day, as we become aware of the fact that when I speak to my spouse, how do I speak to my spouse? Am I coming from a place of love, or is I coming from a place of I'm the authoritarian, so hear me roar, that kind of thing? Or is it that we're looking to build each other and grow in love, and also build generations who understand how to be better? I believe that we have to change some narratives. We really have to change some narratives, and it starts with one family at a time. That's why we are unifying family. I want to say thanks to Minister Kevin, who is not with us on his fatherly duties, but still tuning in with us. Thank you so much for your support. Thanks to all of you who are with us, whom we know who are with us, but you have not said that you are here. But thanks for joining us. Pastor Bino, who still lent his voice to the conversation this evening, Bishop Mark and Minister Sinclair, for taking time out of your schedule. We'll be back again next Monday as we continue to our look. Minister Sinclair had a very interesting bit of information to share with us. I do apologize. It's my fault. I wasn't able to share that image with you this evening. But we'll be continuing our look as, maybe the new one, gaslighting in relationships. What is that? Do you do it? Maybe that should be our topic next week.
Sounds good for me.
What are you doing? Are you a gaslighter? Do you have the lighter in your hand? Yes. And the truth is that gaslighting is a very serious thing. It's a very serious aspect in a relationship. And a lot of people don't know that they do it, but they're actually gaslighters. So join us again next Monday, right here on this channel on YouTube, Unifying Families Worldwide. Thanks to you, gentlemen, for joining us. And to all of you viewers, have a good evening. And join us next week for another edition of Men.
Transformation happens here on Unifying Family. Men on Monday, women on Wednesday. Real talk, real issues, real solutions. Unifying Family, building strong families.